We tend to think of plants as being pretty straightforward, kind of static. But deep in the tropics, there's an orchid that just completely blows that idea out of the water. We're talking about the Catasetum orchid, and it is holding one of the most incredible secrets in the plant kingdom. It can actually choose its gender. Yep, producing dramatically different flowers right on the very same plant.
So imagine you're a botanist back in the 19th century. You come across these two flowers. They are so wildly different that, of course, you classify them as totally separate species, even different genera. You call one monocanthus. It's kind of stout, simple, green. And the other, Catasetum. It's super ornate, complex, colorful. The thought that these could be from the same plant, it would have sounded absolutely insane.
And that right there sets the stage for a massive botanical mystery. Could these two completely different things actually be just two faces of the exact same organism?
All right, so let's dive into part one, a botanical mystery. We're going to follow the breadcrumbs and see how some of history's most brilliant naturalists started to piece this whole thing together. So the first big clue drops in 1836. An explorer, Robert Schomburgk, is out in the field and he sees it. Both types of flowers growing on one plant. Then the one and only Charles Darwin gets fascinated by it. In 1862, he describes the male flower's totally bizarre pollen catapult. But the final absolute proof, the smoking gun, came from a botanist named Hermann Kruger. He just grew the plants himself and watched them switch, back and forth. And that was it. Mystery solved. They were one and the same. Okay, so now that we know they're the same plant, we get to the really cool part. Let's look at how unbelievably different these two forms are and why. Part 2, A Tale of Two Flowers.
These two flowers are playing completely different games. The male flower, he's the showman. He's ornate, colorful, fragrant, and built for one job and one job only, getting his pollen out there. It's got these two tiny, super sensitive antennae that act as a trigger. The female flower, on the other hand, is all business. Stout, simple, and built like a fortress to receive pollen and, this is the important part, to grow a huge seed pod. This makes her energetically expensive to create. Remember that detail? It's going to be important later.
And that trigger system on the male flower? Oh, it's famous among botanists for a reason. This isn't some passive, hope a bee stops by situation. No, this is explosive. Let's break down how this incredible pollen catapult actually works. So it all kicks off with a very specific scent that a certain kind of male orchid bee just can't resist. As the bee lands to scrape off that fragrance, it's guaranteed to bump into those two little antennae. The absolute instant it does, bam, the flower fires a sticky little packet of pollen called a pollinarium and smacks it right onto the bee's back with some serious force. It's like a tiny, high-speed, precision-guided missile system for pollen.
Okay, which brings us to the biggest question of all, right? What makes the orchid decide which flower to produce? Well, that brings us to part 3, the light switch.
Now, the first thing you have to understand is that this is not a random roll of the dice. The orchid isn't just flipping a coin each season. Nope. It's making a very smart, very calculated decision. It's actually reading its environment and responding in the most strategic way possible to give itself the best shot at success. And here it is, the trigger. The big secret is light. It's that simple. The primary switch that determines the gender of a Catasetum's flowers is just the intensity of the light it's getting. In low light, it produces male flowers. But you give that exact same plant bright, high light, and it will produce female flowers. It's a direct switch. But why light? I mean, that seems almost too simple, doesn't it? Well, there is an absolutely brilliant reason for it, and it all comes down to what we'll call the orchid's energy budget. So, this all hinges on a concept called resource allocation. Just think of sunlight as the orchid's income. Like us, the plant has to decide how to spend that energy income to get the best possible return on its investment, which in this case is making more orchids. And this table just lays it out perfectly. In low light, the plant has a low energy income. It can't afford the huge cost of making a seed pod. So what does it do? It makes a smart, low-cost investment, producing the cheaper male flowers to just send its pollen out into the world. But give it high light, and now its energy paycheck is huge. It has plenty of resources. So it can make that big-ticket, high-reward investment in female flowers because it knows it has enough energy in the bank to actually produce a viable seed pod. So this whole strategy is just incredibly cool, and it has these profound implications, not just for the orchid, but for us too. So for our final section, let's look at why this orchid really matters.
For anyone who grows orchids, this knowledge is a total game changer. I mean, if you want to breed them and make new hybrids, you need a seed pod, which means you need a female flower. Well, now you know how to get one. Give the plant more light. You can basically ask it to become female. On the flip side, if you just want to enjoy those super fancy, fragrant male flowers, you can just keep it in shadier conditions. It's like having a control switch.
And from an evolutionary point of view, this strategy is just genius. It perfectly optimizes the plant's energy, right? It never wastes resources trying to make seeds when it can't afford to. By separating the genders like this, it pretty much guarantees it can't pollinate itself, which forces it to cross with other plants, boosting genetic diversity. And all of this flexibility just makes the entire species more resilient, more adaptable to whatever the environment throws at it.
The Catasetum orchid is this incredible reminder that survival in nature isn't always about having one perfect strategy. Sometimes it's about having the flexibility to completely change your strategy when the world around you changes. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other organisms out there are making these incredibly complex and calculated decisions every single day just to survive?